Wow, we have been so rainy here this week. Monday and Tuesday was kind of off and on, and then we've had a couple of days of just complete rain. We have a little bit of a break right now, and so I'm heading down to the garden because my green beans really need to be harvested. The garden will not wait for me, and if I let them get too big, I'm not going to be able to preserve them in the way that I want. So that's what I'm up to today. But everything looks so nice down here, and it's just, gosh, it's growing like weeds. And there are a lot of weeds because of the rain. Yeah, you can just see how wet everything is, but boy, is it green. Okay, we're gonna come over here to our green beans here. Since it's so rainy inside, look at that water. See this? This water just coming in from the pasture, and it's just coming down and draining down through the tomatoes and just all the way down the garden. It's been a lot of rain. See this, you're seeing more. It's just been a continuous rain, so luckily I'm on a bit of a slope here, and because the garden's completely planted out, there's really not a lot of erosion, and the rain has not been heavy, it's just been steady, so the water's just kind of draining out. So green beans are kind of like the crop at this time of the year to be harvesting. This is like my third day down here harvesting. I'm just trying to get everything off of these guys that is ready to be processed so I can do it all at once. So that's why it's kind of seems sparse. But typically every plant will be giving me about 10 beans or so.
Some people are obviously working harder than others, and other people are trying to give the people that are working a heart attack.
This variety is called Blue Lake 274 bush bean, and it's ready in about 55 to 60 days. And I really like the bush beans because they tend to put on all of their fruit at once, which means that I get a really good harvest for preserving. Because when you're preserving things, you really want to be bringing in massive amounts of fruit so that you can do it all at once. Like my canner will do 18 pint jars and 14 quart jars at a time. So if I can max that out, I can save myself some time and be more efficient. Now you can do pole beans too. They'll produce longer throughout the year. But my bush beans will still give me 4 to 5 harvests, which is what I typically get off of these guys. And you don't have to do the Blue Lake beans. You can do really any type of bean. A green bean just basically means that you're harvesting it before it's mature. You're not harvesting it for the beans inside, you're harvesting it for the entire fruit. We've had a little bit of pest pressure with these guys this year. Just a little bit of Japanese beetles, which is pretty typical, and they're really not doing too much. You can see here on the leaves there is a little bit of damage from the Japanese beetles, and then we're also having some slugs, but I think that's just because we're so darn wet right now. I don't usually see slugs down here, but they're not causing a huge problem, and so there's not really a big deal with that, you know. And I've planted so much that the bugs can get some and I can get some. What's also really nice about beans is that they're a legume, so they take nitrogen out of the air and they actually fix it in the soil. So not only are you planting a crop that you're going to be able to feed your family with, you're also enriching your soil. So I won't plant my green beans here in row number 4 again next year. I'll move these to another row, and I'll go ahead and plant a heavy feeder here, maybe like my cabbage, for instance. Or maybe I might even do that in the fall, since these guys will be out of here probably by the end of July. I'll probably harvest all of these guys and take the plants out so that I can prepare for my fall plantings. Now, if you're planting multiple varieties of beans and you're wanting to seed save from them, one cool thing to know about these guys, their botanical name is something like Phaseolus vulgaris, and I might be completely butchering that. But if you're looking at your seed packs and you have a bunch of different variety of beans and they all have that same botanical name with those 2 words in it, the same 2 words, that means they're in the same genus and the same species. And so you just need to plant them 10 feet apart from each other. That's the isolation distance for seed saving. And that is because in their little flowers here, this is called a perfect flower. And a perfect flower just means that the male and the female part are both located inside this flower. So most of the times before this even opens up, it will already be pollinated, which is awesome too. If you're growing in a greenhouse or a high tunnel, you don't have to worry about pollinators. So yes, just make sure that you're spacing them at least 10 feet apart from another variety, and you don't have to worry about cross-pollination. Now in my row number 1, I have soybeans, and then my second row I have cowpeas, and then here I have my green beans. Now they're all different species in the legume family, so they will not cross-pollinate, which is fantastic because I can save seeds from all of those. In fact, lima beans are even in a different family, and then I think perhaps some of your horticultural beans, which are more like the dry shelling beans, a lot of those are in different species as well, so you don't have to worry about cross-pollination with those either. I started off the morning today. I went out, I was kind of tired because I had stayed up late last night editing some videos, and got outside to milk the goats, and gosh, it's just so rainy and it's just so wet and mucky. Anyways, got Peaches up on the stand first and started to milk her. And then she brought her foot up, and what I should have done is just move the pail of milk away, but I didn't. I grabbed her foot, and then that just makes her kick more. And she actually tipped over the entire bucket of milk. I had almost finished milking her by the time when she had kicked it over. So that was disheartening. And then I got Cream up on the stand, and I milked about 1.5 cups out of her, and she put her foot right in the bucket. Oh, and it's just so muddy and gross that I just ended up tossing that milk, and I ended up only getting about 3.5 cups of milk today. So it's kind of discouraging. And now it's just really wet and dreary, but a perfect day for preserving. I'm getting these guys ready to pressure can. That's the main way that I will preserve these guys this year. We'll also do some dilly beans. And I did do some dilly beans yesterday. Here's a couple of jars. I just did 5 jars because I'm doing some experiments. I used some calcium chloride in a couple of the jars. That's also known as pickle crisp, and it's supposed to help keep your pickled items crisper. I also tried some with grape leaves because grape leaves have tannin in them and are known to help keep crispness. So if I don't have to buy that calcium chloride from the store, then that's something that I can eliminate and just use our own grape leaves for. I also tried a recipe with some hot pepper flakes. I tried one with more dill, one with less dill. So anyways, we're just experimenting with the dilly beans to see what our family likes best. It's really important when you're preserving food for a year that you know that the food that you're going to preserve, your family's actually going to eat. So there is a little bit of trial and error that goes along with that. And with these beans here, because I'm gonna be pressure canning these, I really just want the small beans. So this bean right here, although it'll be fine for fresh eating, you could freeze this, you could dehydrate it, you could freeze dry it, you could ferment it. But as far as pressure canning goes, this is really too big. When they go through the canning process, the big beans can sometimes get a brown color to them. So you really wanna stick with the smaller beans. It's really nice when you have a bunch of people helping you and you're bringing in so much food. It's nice to have extra things. So for example, I have a bunch of metal bowls in various sizes so that when we're all around the table and doing stuff, everybody kind of has their own containers and we're not fighting and having to throw things across the table to get it into a container. Also things like extra peelers, extra kitchen scissors, all of those types of things are really handy to have. It makes things go a lot smoother and you're not having to try to find things to put your beans in, because when you're bringing in 5-gallon buckets worth, things get filled up pretty quickly.
This same day, I had also harvested a bunch of cucumbers that I'm just getting into a brine to get into my fridge because I don't have enough to pickle yet, but these will wait for me up to 7 days, so I'm just getting those prepared. I also harvested some beets, so I'm cutting off the greens and I am slicing up those beets. I'll dehydrate the greens to powder for some green powder and also dehydrate the beets to powder up for beet powder to add into smoothies and soups. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.